I want to talk today about something I think is essential to our risk management programs, and it's how we align our risk management to the things that the business values. First, let's go back and review real quickly, the definition of risk management, and there's two versions of this. They're both from Doug Hubbard. There's a long version, which is quite wordy, and then there's the short version, which is how do we make smarter decisions about taking chances? And I think you can see where I'm going to go with this. From a business value standpoint, if we have high value processes, how do we educate the business about the chances that they're taking so they can make decisions about them? And there's really a fundamental disconnect today in how people look at risk management. In a fairly recent Gartner research note, they asked business stakeholders, what they're thinking about, and they're thinking, of course, about business growth. 7% are thinking about risk management, and it means that there's a bit of a gap between how we're applying risk management to these opportunities. And there's another Gartner quote that I really like. Paul Proctor said, "We need an approach to security that prioritizes and invests and creates a balance between how we run the business and protecting it." So we have to align the protection to our business, to the value, and to the outcomes for the business. So what are some ways that we go about doing that? Well, you could wait for a business impact analysis. There may be a committee or a group of people or perhaps just one person, but most businesses have somebody doing what's called a BIA somewhere in the company. Generally, that BIA is going to be a bottom-up approach. Quite often it starts with, what are all the IT things we have, and now let's figure out how it applies to the business. And my suggestion is that although the BIA is essential, you need all those detailed plans, that there's a different way to do it, and it's one that engages you with your business stakeholders. It'll get you kind of the lay of the land. You'll understand who the stakeholders are and what's important to them. So let's take a quick look at what that map looks like. You'll need a map of who the key stakeholders are. At the top of the company hierarchy, there are always executives in charge of areas. And in having dialogue with those executives, you can find out their priorities, what they're thinking about. These can be very short meetings, make them very strategic in how you conduct them, and find out who else you need to talk to. That'll lead you to the second level stakeholders. And so in those second level stakeholders, you may find divisions within the company, and this is just for example, maybe they have the operations, the revenue operations of the company divided into three areas. And Midwest, East Coast, West Coast in terms of regions. And maybe there are primary business operations even within those. And what's really nice about this approach of meeting with the stakeholders in short, iterative meetings is that you create this map and you ask them to review it. They agree, yes, you've captured the things that we do, and you've captured the priorities for them. Now you have a map that tells you what their key business activities are, and you can drill down to additional levels. And this is, again, not a replacement for a BIA, but it can certainly help drive the BIA in terms of direction, because you can get down to the key mappings between those business processes and key IT systems, key platforms, and you'll understand the criticality of them to the business. You may not get all the way back to the individual components, but you're going to know an awful lot about how the business runs, what they need, and the criticality. Where information like this is essential, let's say, for example, you're talking about vulnerability management within your company. You've already been scanning all of your infrastructure probably for years, but there most likely was not a map that established which parts of the infrastructure you're scanning represent the most value to your business. Once you have this mapping, you can then go back and overlay that business value as part of that scanning process and the vulnerability remediation. To kind of continue that example, what if you find out that the patching process takes 9 months? You know, critical patches are updated once every 9 months or once every 6 months. If that's a critical business system, then is that sufficient? Is that a risk? This is where we can start to focus our risk analysis based on the value alignment. And in doing that, you can come up with analysis to say, hey, for $600,000, we can decrease that patching cycle from 6 or 9 months to 30 days. If we instead invest $800,000, we can take that patching cycle down to 3 days to 7 days. These are all options, and these are options that become business decisions. You can now allow the business to pick what their risk tolerance is, how much risk they're willing to bear, and it makes the risk analysis and a lot of your security processes directly relevant to business value. And I think this is essential because, as Doug Hubbard observed, a weak risk management approach is effectively the biggest risk in the organization. Thank you.